I put people around me that believe in the legacy of Burlington, that believe that there's something that we can give these kids that are special, that they can walk away from. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be good for the kids because the kids will always, always be first.
Welcome to today's episode of the Here for Cheer podcast. I am your host, Megan Gamarlo, and we have two incredibly special guests on today's show. Up first, we have Hank Light. He is the V-Rock choreographer director. He is a varsity spirit state director for the state of Kentucky, and he has over 100 UCA National titles. Yes, I said over 100. He works with several high-profile schools and colleges, and he has history in All-Star. He is one of the cheer gods out there, and he is a mentor to me myself and such. The reason that I started Northern Lights is because of him, and we'll get into that after. But he is just really, really a great human being and so incredibly talented at what he does. Also on the show, we have Kim Gaskin. She is a 36-year coaching. 36 years coaching. This is how long this woman has been in our industry. She's been a coach for 36 years. She has 5 national NHSCC titles. She has over 30 state titles in the state of New Jersey. She is the president of the New Jersey Cheer and Dance Association, as well as she was in the documentary American Cheerleader. So she's famous. She is famous as well. And yeah, they both have been in our industry for so long and really seen the evolution of our sport, have been well rooted in the NHSCC, which is one of the greatest traditions in high school cheerleading. And I am so excited and honored to have them on. So Hank and Kim, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Hi.
Yay, I love it.
You're
Okay,
too kind.
so I want to start
Right.
off with you, Hank. Hank and I go way back. When I was at school at Marshall University, Hank owned an All-Star gym, and he is one of the original All-Star gym owners. Back in the day when there was no real divisions, there was no summit, there was just kind of cheer, and he owned River Cities in Hurricane, West Virginia, and I was so lucky to be a UCA staffer and stumble upon his gym and to be offered a job after running a camp there. Thank goodness our paths crossed because it changed my entire trajectory. So I was able to watch Hank run a program, and not only a program, but a phenomenal program. You taught me everything about building relationships with the parents and the athletes. I was so moved every year that your alumni would all come back and the parents and would all want to celebrate together and be so rooted in what River City is. I watched you coach at an extremely high level and build champions out of like a small town in West Virginia. And it inspired me to move home and to open a gym of my own. And a little fun fact about Northern Lights is Believe, our motto, came as like homage to Hank and his program. Believe was their motto, and I wanted to have some piece that tied us together. And now we're going into our 20th season, and that Believe still reigns true in Northern Lights, but I learned so much from you. So, Hank, will you just talk a little bit about River Cities and your experience there with that?
Sure. Well, it all started in a church gym in 1993, I think it was. And
Wow.
it was just when All-Star was starting to get more, before it was mostly all just NCAA Dallas was the only All-Star big event. And then as it started spreading and then the USASF started, we decided to open a gym. I tapped into some people in West Virginia that approached me about moving up there, and it was kind of the perfect opportunity because their school teams weren't allowed to travel out of state. It gave the kids an opportunity to travel, and then it just kind of blew up all of a sudden. And I do think my Kentucky roots have a lot to do with it, coming from so many competitive programs, and the kids that went from Kentucky to West Virginia with me really added to the culture up there because the kids from West Virginia didn't really know what to expect. So it was great for
Yeah.
them to have like a family already waiting for it. It was like adopting a sibling.
Yeah.
So the kids I already had were like just waiting because they couldn't wait to get better and bigger. And it was just kind of the perfect storm at the right time.
Absolutely. And that was one of the things I learned from you as well, like the opportunities that you gave your athletes. And it was just incredible. And I was so inspired to want to be a leader just like you. What was one of your favorite memories of your time with River Cities?
Oh gosh. Probably the first Worlds. Getting to go to the first Worlds, and there was only like 9 teams. We were in a sound studio in Hollywood Studios. It was so small and so intimate, and it was just a really cool experience that no one else will ever get to do just because of how large it is today. It's just like a different world, I guess you would say. The different
Yeah,
worlds.
absolutely. And I remember I could not wait to listen to your Believe CD.
Oh,
You
I
would
know.
make a CD every year for your kids, and you took so much time to pick songs that were meaningful. And I remember we couldn't wait for like the CD drop. Like, let me hear this Believe CD, and I would listen to it in my car. And but it was just it spoke volumes of that you cared so much, and you continue to be a great relationship builder within our sport. But you cared so much about these kids and the experience that you could provide for them, and it's one of the greatest
Yeah.
takeaway. I learned so much from you, the X's and O's of our sport, of how to teach things and how to be a loving but a tough coach. But more so, it was that experience piece, the relationship piece, that meant so
Yeah, I
much.
I was just gonna say when you asked about favorite memories, I have a new one now, and you were there. So how many of them were at my wedding?
Absolutely.
Which was such a great feeling that I'm
Yes.
still a part of
To
their
know the
lives.
impact that you have been a coach of impact to so many and touched so many lives. All right, so let's circle in Kim. And how did you and Kim meet?
Oh gosh, I'll let her handle it after me, but we met at high school nationals, and it probably would have been 2007, 8,
Mm,
early.
yeah, very early.
And then we actually met at the pool bar the night before
Love it.
nationals.
Yeah.
And Joe Cooper was there, and
Oh,
we were just
gosh.
chatting about their division and whatever, and I was helping some perennial favorite teams in their division, and we were talking about this, and Joe said something about, well, and Burlington Township, don't forget about them, and I was like, who's that? And then
Oh.
I'll let
Yep.
her take it from there.
Yeah.
So he's right. We met at the pool bar, and what everyone needs to understand is the Burlington program started with very little resources, really no resources. And one day I saw nationals on TV and I said, I want our kids to have that experience. Our school is very diverse. We bring a different type of flavor, if you will, to who we are. And we really had a lot of respect as coaches, myself and Serena at the time. We really wanted to learn what the South was doing because cheerleading was so big. And in the Northeast, it was just really taking off from the competitive level. And Joe Cooper was a real big part of that. He was a great advocate for us. So we saw Hank at the bar and we, talked and had a great time. And he said, I want to come see your team. I said, no, you don't.
Yes.
He goes, I want to come see your team. And I said, we're like third. And that was when we were at Indiana Jones out in the cold, right?
Yep.
So the next morning, like at 8:03, you have, like a couple of parents out there from other schools. And we're walking through the like tunnel area. And I said to Serena, oh my God, that guy from Kentucky is sitting in the stands. He had a hoodie on and his hands were crossed and he was freezing. And, we're from the Northeast. So we're like, we like the cold, it's
Yep.
okay. And that moment we performed and they had the playback and he says, you're going to get in to finals. And I'm like, no, we're not. No, we're not. And he said, you're going to get in. And that year, we got into finals, and I said to Serena, oh my God, we have to find that Kentucky dude. He's our good luck charm. We have no
Yes, I
money,
was going to
we
say
have no
that.
resources, but whatever it takes, we got to learn from him.
Yeah.
And that's when it started. And I, don't want to get emotional, but I begged Hank to come to Burlington.
Yeah.
And we had wrestling mats and we didn't have anything. And he came uh with the hope of just helping us.
Yeah.
And that's where it started.
I love
Here
And
we
it.
are.
here
I
we are.
know. And then every year since, that's incredible.
You talked about relationships and what people need to understand. What I think people like Hank and even Joe and others within the varsity family, it's not always about who wins. It's about how can we build a
Mm-hmm.
community. And that's
Yes.
what Hank did. And that's what he did
Yes.
for us.
Oh, that's so special. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hank, I don't think he realizes how many lives he's touched beyond just his athletes. He
Right.
inspires all of us to continue to be better every single day. All the teams that he works with, and I mean, he works with a lot. I see Hank on the road, and he is just trying to give his absolute best to every
Mhm.
program that he can to give them, that extra little touch and that hanky magic that we all admire so much. So
Although I'm just sitting here looking at the screen and I look like Dr. Evil
no, you look
in the gray
good.
half zip. I was sitting here watching and I'm like, oh my God, I look like Dr. Evil.
Now we're not going to unsee that, but that's so funny. So tell us a little bit more about Burlington and about being there for, 36 years. Of course, we
Mhm.
talk a lot about relationships, and I'm sure you've had highs and lows, wins
Mhm.
and not so great years. But what is it that keeps you coming back, and what do you
Mhm.
think, as a coach, is so important to remember in the long term of being in the sport?
Yeah, great question. So for me, I was a cheerleader at Burlington Township. And I made varsity as a freshman and cheered there for years and then went to Michigan State. So I've had cheerleading in my life from a very early age. And way back then, when I graduated from college, there was a coach at Burlington and she asked if I could help. And at the time, I didn't even have a car. I was like, I paid my way through college and I used to take the bus from Philly over to Burlington, and the parents would pick me up from the bus station, and I would help the kids. And then when
Wow.
the coach decided to leave, she asked me to take over the program, and that's where it really started. So for me and a lot of the coaches that are a part of our coaching staff, we've worn that BT on our chest. And so I always tell the kids, and for any program that is a legacy program, there is history behind that uniform that you wear. And it's the
Yes.
respect. It's taken years. When we first started competing, we were happy to get the Spirit Award. Remember when
Yes.
they used to give out the Spirit Trophy? We were like,
Yes.
woo! We weren't thinking about, you know, beating another team or winning. And then we decided that our students deserved the opportunity to have the experience to go to nationals. And so that's what we did. I don't even eat hot dogs today because we sold so many hot dogs, it's crazy. But we did everything and it takes community. We have an incredible family base and parent base. We have an incredible administration that supports us, right?
Yes.
You need all of those elements. You need to build those relationships as a coach. And over the years, people say, you know what? These kids deserve an opportunity to experience Disney. For a lot of my kids, they've never been outside of Burlington. So
Absolutely.
Disney is a dream experience, right? And then to be on a big stage is something that they'll experience maybe once in their lifetime. And
Absolutely.
so, yeah. So as we built the program, we just had to continue to learn and teach ourselves and watch other teams. And, you know, I do think the nights, that Serena and I stayed up like 2, 3 in the morning looking at videos of Kamehameha, Green Up, Dunbar, and we were like, "Well, we can't be them, but who can we be?" And so we just really tried to stay focused on what works for our school because we have an accountability as athletes to bring school spirit and leadership to the school. We have an accountability to ensure that our athletes have what it takes to graduate and that's the most important thing. You know what I mean? That
Absolutely.
these kids
Yes.
graduate and they understand and learn what it takes to survive, in this country. And that's really, that's really the secret sauce. We do have a motto that's TEAM, together everyone achieves more. And
Yay. I
we
love it.
believe in that. We really, really
Yeah.
do. And that's where Team Burlington comes from.
Oh, so special.
I work with a lot of teams and, just every once in a while, something about a team reminds me of like what we did at River Cities, honestly. And there, that kind of community and that kind of like involvement and the families are involved. I know, I started at Green Up and it was very similar. Every grandparent, aunt, uncle, nephew, cousin went to Disney with them. That's what I love about high school nationals. And it's just that kind of community and just the dedication of the kids. And it's a whole like culture for them. And it's just a special thing. And it's the more teams that I help, the more special I realize that kind of program, how special it is.
Oh.
Absolutely. Like the leadership of Kim, it's obvious that you're doing it all the right way and for the right reasons, and these kids need you and you're
Oh,
making a big difference and giving them things that they could never have even believed that they could do later on. And I mean,
Right.
36 years of alumni in your program is just absolutely phenomenal and, mind-blowing. So what is it about the NHSCC that's so special? Like why do we love it so much? I mean, I know it's the tradition for me. You walk in, I don't care how many times I've gone, you walk in and it just the tradition of so many teams that have worked so hard to get there. And at a place like Disney where dreams come true, I love it. I love that it's there. I love that it encompasses that extra layer of experience for kids and families. That Florida sun we need out of the Northeast, I
Right.
love that. But yeah, what is your guys' opinion of what makes the NHSCC
Well,
such
it's funny. I was just in California last weekend and I had this team and they were just the absolute sweetest kids. It was Redondo High School from Orange County. And they were just talking. The coach was like, "Do you mind if the kids like sit down with you at the end and just ask you questions about Disney? Because it's their third time going." So I was like, "Sure, that's great. Like, I don't know if I can answer, but I'll try." And they
Yeah.
were like, "Well, so what do you get most excited about?" And I was like, "Well, it's a little different now because this will be my 40th high school nationals that I've attended." I said they
Yeah.
were all like, "Oh my God, 40 years." And I was like, "I know I don't look that old, but
Yeah.
I was a sophomore in high school the first time I attended." So it it's just like what you said though. I remember when there were 25 teams, it seemed like every small shop in town closed down and they were all mostly from like not large areas. It wasn't like, oh, all these teams from California and New York and Chicago. It was all like these county rural schools that would just like give their soul to that competition. And I honestly believe like that community is what drove that competition to become what it is today. It's going to be very different this year with it being split
Yes.
into D1 and D2 because so many people I've known for so long that have gone together aren't getting to go together this year. So
Yeah.
it'll take some getting used to, but I do like how they're encouraging where they've combined it with dance and band. They
Yes, the
are
full
encouraging
program.
the community in the schools. And it really has
Yes.
paid off because I've worked with some teams that are doing the cheer and dance game day combo.
I
And
love
it's
that.
really interesting to see like now they're all like making schedules for Disney and it's like, well, we have to go watch dance at 12 and then they're coming to watch us at
Yes.
2 and then we're practicing together. So it is kind of nice to see it within the schools.
Uh-huh.
But it is going to be
Yeah.
strange to not have all the cheer teams there at once.
At the same time, I know. I know. It is. How about for you, Kim? What is so special about the NHSCC?
yeah. So we do a cheerleading send off. We invite some local teams to perform for families who don't have the opportunity to travel. And I always introduce the showcase as we are going to the Super Bowl of cheerleading. And when I
Absolutely.
say that, in a lot of schools, a lot of communities, they don't understand cheerleading, right? They think these kids are on the sidelines. They don't understand the athleticism. They don't understand the leadership, the spirit, all the things that it takes to just to do your job, right? And to lead, because spirit and motivating others is one of the hardest things you can do today, even in business, right?
Yes.
And so the thing that I love about the National High School Cheerleading Championships is it's made for us, it's designed for us, it is for us, right? And so all the work that Michelle, Melanie, all those great people at Varsity do, they are motivating these kids to say, "You picked the right sport and we're here for you. And this is
Yes.
your platform. This is your platform to show your greatness." And that can never be mistaken, right? So for us, when we go and I say to the kids, you have an opportunity to learn, right? You have an opportunity to build relationships. You have an opportunity to challenge yourself and come outside of yourself. Because I always say, if you want to do something you've never done, then you've got to be bigger than who you are, because it's not about you, right? It's about everything else that's been put into cheerleading to get you here. So what are you going to do to leave your footprint there? And so
Yes.
it's a great experience, no matter, no matter where you fall. And I do think, it's like Hank said, this is a new model and a new format. We'll see how it works. And I think it's organic growth for varsity to include, you know, well, dance teams have always been there, but in the format that they have now, and also bands, drum lines, to really make it more of a school experience.
Yeah, it's very exciting. And it
Hmm.
is change is hard, but
Hmm.
is so great and necessary to, like you said, push us out of our comfort zone,
Yeah.
allow some new relationships to develop, and to see what it can really do for those school communities
Hmm.
within. Because we all know when you go down to the NHSCC, coaches are together, you're hanging out, you're talking, you're finally connecting after a year of kind of trudging along with your adversities and the highs and lows of what can feel kind of very alone sometimes coaching, especially without great support of, I mean, you're so lucky to have great support of your administration, but not everybody has that. And so coming together to the NHSCC is like we're all in it together. We've all had the injuries, had the athletes quit, had the setbacks, but now we're all here together to celebrate something we love.
I would like to share, we have a mandatory parents meeting every month, and
Every
our
month.
parents every month,
I
our
love this.
parents show up, and we not only tell them about the schedule and the practices, but I try to give them insights on what we're trying to teach the kids. And I'll be honest with you, kids today are different than the kids that I used to coach way back, when I met Hank. Kids
Yes.
today are very different and they want to be liked, right? But we're trying to build leaders. And to build a leader, sometimes it's hard because you may not be liked. And so there are practices that our coaches really, really push on our kids, that if you're a leader, if you're a captain of the team and somebody's not wearing, the right t-shirt, or not didn't bring your palms, then they should do their laps before even the coaches get there, because the rules are the rules. And so sometimes, I try to express to my parents, our job is to build discipline, right? And structure, right? So these kids have a format to what success looks like. All right. And we want our parents to be parents. Love on your kids. If they're upset, they can be upset. But that structure and discipline is our core of what we do, no matter what, no matter what.
Amazing.
And so I do believe that, there are things that these kids are dealing with, mental illness, stress and anxiety.
Yes.
And, the coaching style has to adapt to those realistic things that, I always tell people, I think I coach 30%, but the life skills is like 70, right? On
Yes.
how cheerleading can help with some of those life skills and protecting kids. Cheerleading is a place where kids should walk in that gym and feel protected, right, against all the challenges of the world. And that's what
Yes.
we hope we do.
And
Oh, yeah.
that's a good
This.
lead in for when I do choreography, I always know the teams that I can push to do things out of their box, because I know in the end they're going to look good because of how they're coached. And it's not, I mean, that's when she said 70-30 life skills. I think it's the same with choreography. It's about 75% coaching. You could have the routine of a lifetime, and if you can't coach it correctly, it doesn't matter. So like
Yes.
we face that a lot. People just think, oh, Hank's coming, we're going to be great. Well, that's not the case at all.
No.
At all.
No, I totally agree. And I think that's a huge piece of advice. Both things. I love the parent meeting every month. I think so many coaches are afraid to get in front of their parents because they are intimidating and they can be very scary and they can be abrasive. And, but I think that when you do it right, like you, they're bought in. They understand. You're communicating why you're doing what you're doing, which I think a lot of times coaches miss that mark of just, this is what we're doing instead of explaining, because discipline is going to create A, B, and C that we all want for these athletes. So that I need to do better and have monthly parent meetings for sure. That is absolutely a takeaway that I can't wait to bring back to my coaches. And Hank, what you're saying, I think it's absolutely true as well. You only get that small window of a day or 2 days working with a team. And if the coaching can't understand when to modify or make it harder or to rely on something different or to make a change or to adjust for the team and to coach it the right
Yeah.
way, it doesn't matter how great your choreography is. Like you can't determine the end goal if the coaching that's there all the
100%.
time is not there. Yeah.
And there's a fine line between, okay, I have some coaches that like are afraid to change anything without my permission. And I'm like, well, you have to live with them. Like, change it if it needs change. But then there's other
Yes.
coaches that like change it before I feel like I get on the plane the next day and don't ever give it a
And there's
chance.
no
So
chance.
like
Yes. You got to let them live in it a little bit. Try the outfit
the
on
constant
more
change.
than once.
Yeah, the constant change
Yes.
is something I really have a hard time with. And it it's nice to have teams that like, well, whatever they do, I'm not going to get my feelings hurt if you change. You're not going to get
Yes.
your feelings hurt if I say you're doing the wrong thing.
Mhm.
But it's that relationship between the coach and the choreographer is so important.
Mhm. Yeah, the ego aside, I think is a
Yeah.
big piece of that as well.
Right.
But what you're saying, they've got to like live in it for a little bit. I so many times, a coach immediately wants to change something. They've got to let these kids kind of have a minute, to be able to see what they can do with it and kind of trust your vision and that you've done this a long time, and that,
Right.
your best interest is always for that team. But I think that's great advice for coaches. What are some other things, Hank, you wish a coach knew from a choreographer's point of view?
You can always tell, like, being prepared before I get there is a huge deal, especially like in your skills, your stunning, and like now I know, like, I'll go to certain teams and I'll be like, I'm sure you have stunt groups. And she said yes. And I was like, okay, well, how many don't do standing tucks? And she'll be like 4. And then she'll say, well, don't worry, they're not all in the same stunt group. So I spread them out
Yes.
over the floor. And because so they learn as the longer I'm there, they learn with me. And so like that makes it super helpful when the chemistry between each other. And they also, I know, and like, but I've also been to schools where they don't have a stunt group set and they're like, you just pick them. And I'm like, oh no,
What?
that's your job.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I wish there was a handbook, but everybody's different. But it being prepared and then also knowing how to practice, like, and it's so easy for me to tell when she sends me a video and I'll be like, well, it's obvious that the problem is stamina, not the skills themselves. So how many full outs have you done? Well, 2. And I'm like, well, then you're not really giving this
Yes.
much of a chance. Like, you've got to push them and not just think that the choreography is going to be great. Like, it's a whole process. And like the college coaches do that really well. I always love to be around this time of year, the college teams, because they have to get ready so quickly for nationals. It's just like the Christmas break craziness. And I would always advise high school coaches to follow a good college program. Uh, Asia at Alabama, I know you're trying to get her on here, but like she
Yes.
does a great job. They're so good. They're so in shape. And it's just such a, and there's so many teams that was just the first one that came to my mind. But like she's just such a great coach as far as like physical skills and how to use it and mentally preparing and that type of thing. And it's just super important. I would encourage any high school coach to follow them on Instagram or
Yes.
find out interviews, go to college practices. They all love teams coming for recruiting. Get in there and watch how they work physically. It's impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. And you both have really touched on the importance of leaning on those around you and, not being afraid to continue to learn and grow and evolve. And I think, Kim, you spoke of it, that you have to change your coaching techniques, not expect the athletes to change. As the generational, it's different what they need from us, and that we adjust to that, and also that you lean on people. You would have never had this relationship with Hank if you thought you knew it all, So the fact that you were always willing to get out there and learn and grow and find people that were doing it really well and getting them in your corner, and that you continue to do that even, you're both legendary in the sport, truly, and have been around for so long and accomplished so many things. And, the best part about you both is that that was never mentioned once, like how many times you've won or that your best moment was winning somewhere. It's all been about the relationships and the impact and the difference that you can make. So I think any coach listening can learn so much about that. That's what it's really all about. It's the wins and losses, ebbs and flows. It truly does. And the longer you've been in this sport, the more you understand the importance of the life skills, the relationships, the experiences, and the moments and the memories. So I think that's so beautiful.
I want to add to when we talk about the relationship between the coach and the choreographer, the other important thing, especially for new coaches, is to know the rules. You have to know, you have to get certified, but you have to know the rules. You have to know how to read the rules book. There are so many coaches that don't know how to look up a skill. If the skill, they just say, well, my choreographer said we could do it. Or if they're in an all-star gym, the rules for all-star are different than high school. But you got to know the rules. And I do think that the education of cheerleading is just as important as the choreography of cheerleading, right? Because coaches need not only, we used to have a joke, like we would look up exactly in the rules book where it says that we could do the skill, if it was legal or not. But that is a piece that I think is starting to slip. You know what I mean? Now there are professional companies that that encourage education for coaches, but I don't care if you're a coach and it's your first year, your fifth year, or your 36th year. I mean, the skills now are moving so fast, okay, so fast, that and the names and the and what you have to look for and the grips. And so I just want to advocate for the educational part of cheerleading as well.
And it's hard. I could let something slip by that I didn't know was illegal, and when I'm there for 12 hours, basically, like it that's super helpful information if the coach researches that. But on top of that, using other high school coaches, that's one of my favorite things about my situation, being in it this long. And like we have this event this weekend here in Burlington, and Saturday night we have a coaches get together, and it's like all my coaches, and they all, like, half of them compete against each other, but it's still okay. And like they
Yes.
learn so much from each other, and people don't realize that it doesn't have to be like a rivalry situation all the time. You guys are each other's best research or best
Yes.
resource.
Yes.
Use each other.
Mm,
Yes.
absolutely.
Because in
Absolutely.
the end, there's going to be a next year. This season's going to be over. The trophies are out. The jackets are
Yes.
on. Start over, rewind, fast forward, like the whole thing. So, like, you're all each other have sometimes. Because Lord knows our
Yes.
spouses never see us.
Yes. Yes. And we have been in this long enough that we know it's just cheerleading. At the end of the day, like we can get fired up and excited and emotionally
Sure.
involved, invested, and high and low and tears and happy, but it really is just cheerleading at the end of the day. And there are so many other and more important things in the world. So I love that you're touching on the community, and then being the president of that cheer and dance association, Kim. Like what kind of difference does that make in your state?
It's it's tough, okay? Because, you're not making decisions based on your team. You're making decisions on what's good for cheerleading. And New Jersey is a state that has a lot of teams that do NCA, UCA, no CA, wanna be a CA.
Yeah.
So, and we have divisions that are growing. Game day's growing.
Yes.
This whole intermediate division is growing,
I love
and
that
hopefully we
too.
can pick up some teams that may normally not compete. And, our organization is nonprofit. We all volunteer, so there's no payment, but the payout is scholarships. We raise money. All our monies are to give cheerleaders and dancers scholarships at the end of every season. And that
Ah,
is my joy,
special.
right? That is my joy, is that recognition again of these athletes, their athletic ability, but more importantly, their, education and academic ability. And so, our state association, we're growing so fast. It's hard to find venues that, we can have our state championship. But I do believe at the end of the day, what motivates me and keeps me involved is that recognition of the kids at the end of the day, and the coaches as well. We have programs recognizing coaches and recognizing athletes and recognizing good sportsmanship, right? Throughout the state. And you don't have to be a competitive team to be recognized for good sportsmanship.
That's great. I love that you have that, and we can all learn from that as well.
Yeah, when I'm always with the team, I always usually ask, like, especially if it's a newer team that I'm not super familiar with, I'm like, "Okay, can you guys tell me what's your goal?" And it can't be winning. It has nothing to do with winning. Winning is a luxury, that's not a goal. So,
Yes.
and then I sometimes will do, like, an athlete of the day if I'm doing choreography and I see somebody that's just, like, busting their butt to, doing everything I ask. They may not be a shiner or, like, a star, and I always try to do that so kids can see that, like, it pays off whether you're at the top of the totem pole or at the bottom of the totem pole, a base, a back, and I always try to pick someone
Yeah,
that's, like, not super visible
the center of everything.
because
I
they're working
love that you
just as hard
celebrate the
they're
kids
working
that
just as
way.
hard as anybody else.
But Hank, that philosophy can even go to the team doing that for each other. Our captains give out, athlete of the week, and at the game they present it to the athlete, and it's this big bulky chain necklace that says like athlete of the week, and so that's the encouragement, right? Who really worked hard, who really, was kind to someone else on the team or helped someone else get through. And so I appreciate that. I appreciate when everyone has those beliefs because it transcends from choreographers to coaches to kids.
Mhm. Mhm. How do you build your leaders, Kim? Because it sounds like you have a great grip on captains that are doing it the right way, that are not just captains that say, "Well, I'm in charge, so do what I say." It sounds like you have this really special leadership, and I know that leaders are not born, they're built, so can you touch a little bit more on how you build these leaders as they come up through Burlington?
Yeah, I give a lot of credit to my coaching staff because this is a day to day thing, right? It's not just, you're a leader. It For kids to be leaders, they have to get uncomfortable, right? Because we have rules that we expect our captains to really step up and not wait for the coach to say it, but you say it. Like I said before, if somebody's not on time or if they don't have, the right t-shirt on, then you run your laps, you do what you're supposed to do. Everybody knows it. If you have responsibility to roll up the mats that day, that's what we expect for you to do. Like things happen, but our captains, we expect that two-way communication. And I think it's hard for kids to communicate, right? Because they don't want to be that, they feel like they may be like tattling, right? But what we try to do is not just tell us what the situation is, what would you do? What do you think is right? Like we have our own opinions of what we think, right? But I do think we have to teach students how to be critical thinkers and provide solutions, right? And to think it out. And so, we tell our parents as part of our parents' meeting, like, we're trying to build leaders. And, sometimes the kids may not like what we do, but it helps them understand the critical thinking behind the why, right? The why. And we try to also ensure that kids are not, sometimes kids say nasty things to each other. They hurt each other's feelings. Like, how do we temper that? How do we make it so it's constructive, right? And I tell the kids all the time, you got to build trust with your teammates. You got to build trust. So you can't just be the person that says, because you're the upperclassman, this is what I'm gonna tell you to do, and you just got to do it, right? You gotta build trust, and trust is something that is part of that relationship building that we talked about earlier.
You can tell at their practice who the captains are just by their behavior, because you can tell that the captains are held accountable for everyone's behavior. And it's not just about telling them what to do. And, I was in a school, I was at Texas, I don't even know what day last week, but one day last week. And I was moving some people around, and I was like, I was kind of like quietly asked the coach and say, like, is she going to be okay there for motions? And then the captain was like, ooh, I don't know about Sarah or whatever. And the coach was like, absolutely not. Are you ever to say something like that again? She was like, if he puts someone in their position where you don't think they're going to be able to do their best, make them better, lift them up, don't knock them down in front of their teammates. And I
Yes.
was like,
Yes.
wow, like it just
Yeah.
really stuck with me how
Yeah.
tone is such a big thing when you're speaking. And and it was Texas. They had like 60 cheerleaders, and like the captains do a whole lot on those teams. And it was really great for me to see the coach handle it that way and let that kid know that, like, no, that's not okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
Kids
that's
need
very
help learning how to
similar to
communicate
them. Yeah.
because they don't, now because of our electronics and that face-to-face interaction, they need so much help in maybe they're coming from a great place, but the delivery of the way that they talk to each other, and we have to teach those things. And I love how much you guys are touching on, again, and we're not talking about teaching a back handspring or getting your basket to
Right.
go higher. It really is developing them as great humans first, and then that athletic piece, when they have all those great characteristics, falls into place second. Hank, you work with so many programs and so many high level, incredible programs. What are some qualities that stand out to you about those coaches or those kids that someone could take away to try to kind of motivate their team or their own as a coach to be more like that?
Um, Structure, 100%. And, it's hard when I have, like, people like, I have Kim, I have Candy Berry, that she's been there for 50 years almost. I have Karen Feldhouse at Madison Central. Even though I don't do their choreography, I visit quite a bit. And it's so easy for them now because the wheels are already turning and they do the same thing every year. But these people that are building programs, they need to rely on people like that to see, they didn't all get there in their first 5 years. Absolutely not. And it is a process, and you do get thicker and smarter with age. And like, like a coach, a, a new coach, like I have a friend that's she's not even 30 yet, and she's coaching a high school team, a varsity team, and the parents are just relentless. And it's so hard. Like, I can imagine her I was just laughing about a monthly parent meeting when she can't even have one like
Yeah,
every
ever.
semester without it
Yeah.
going chaos. But like, that's just
Yeah.
something you have to learn with time, because she's actually now, she called me last night and she said, I had a parent meeting and I finally just said, I'm the head coach. These decisions are not up for debate. You're just supposed to figure out how to pay for them. It was a booster meeting. And I was like, well, good for you, because you got to set that tone. So there's no
Yes.
question about like the little things. But you can just tell who, like, I can tell the minute I walk in the gym, if their warm up is structured, I know we're going to be okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I love it. Kim, same. Anything to add for that
Yeah,
of coaches?
we
I
we
mean,
talk about parents, and parents can be great advocates, right? And the reason why we have in our parent meetings, we start with where are we in the process? So when we kick our team off, we tell the parents, your kids are going to get in the car. They're going to be sore. They're going to hate cheerleading because, oh my God, they're making us just do exercises, right? We're building strength, we're building flexibility. It's hard. No one likes it. And it's a process. When we start getting into developing the routine, having Hank come out, We don't want the kids to settle in the like, we want that flexibility of learning how to do skills, not just with one person or 3 people, right? So, we try to communicate to the parents where we are in the process, how we are ensuring that, that they understand that the rules that we have, the rules that we have about their hair and the rules that we have about how we expect them to show up, right? Like, don't jump out of bed and think you're going to walk into a game and not be prepared. That's not what we do, right? And so the more open we are to those expectations, right, the better parents kind of get it, right? And so when we are not at our best, it is up to all of us to help each other become our best. And
Yes.
so and my parents will tell you, they'll come to us and they'll say, "Okay, she's getting out of line at home. We just want you to know." And we're like, "Wait a minute," because we're trying to build not just a good athlete. We're trying to build kids that are the it kids in the school, the kids that everyone looks up to, right? And sometimes, it takes a village. It really does. It really takes a village at Burlington for us to raise money to support these kids and to get to nationals. But I do think, we have to also educate parents on cheerleading because we have a lot of new parents this year that have never even. I had a parent that saw her child perform it the first time and came over and cried.
Oh,
And that was, yeah, it was crazy because she had never seen anything so beautiful. That's what she said. "I've
yeah.
never seen her so beautiful before." And
Oh,
so they're learning too, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's the perfect culture is when
Mhm.
you have a coach, parent, athlete relationship that you're all working together. That triad is essential and taking the time to build your culture like you're doing and to educate parents. Like, I agree with you that parents want to be involved. So you have to give them the right information or they write it themselves. Then they determine like, oh, well, they're coming home and complaining in the car, not understanding that it's early in the season and we're in the grind to prepare for choreography. They just get the narrative that comes from their child and then they write their own. Oh, the coach is mean, the coach doesn't like my kid, and all those things. So what you're taking the time to do, I think probably is time consuming, but so important to that overall coach culture and process of building a championship program and a legacy program like yours.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and you just really need a handful of parents to buy in, and that makes it so much easier to coach because they can handle the parent that's like, "Well, why are we doing this?" And
Right.
they can be like, "We don't ask why. We say how much or how high or what time." Yeah, and, like, once you have that group of parents, it helps tremendously.
Yeah. Okay, so you guys both obviously pour so much. Hank, you're on the road. You're in hotels more than you're at your home. And Kim, I know you're taking the time to be there for every athlete, for every thing that they're challenge that they're facing outside of practice, inside of practice, parents, your other jobs. Like you guys are all in for these kids. What is your advice for that work-life balance? Because it's so important that coaches hear, how to manage that and things that you've had to learn maybe the hard way, along the way to be better at that balance.
I'm gonna tell you that early in my career, uh, between Serena and I, we did it all. We did it all. We did the budget. We ordered the uniforms. We did so much. We had no sleep. I was young. I was a young mom. I don't even know how I did it. Um, I have been blessed, and I say I have great family. Cheerleading is my family. Hank is part of my family, right? There's so many people part of my family. And I am very, very proud to say that I am a breast cancer survivor
Yes.
this year. Yes.
Mm.
And if it wasn't for my cheer family and the people around me, I would not have survived and been able to. I've not had a bad day with cancer. And I'm going to say the thing that I have learned about work, life, and health balance is that you can do it all because I did it all. but I'm not going to say that's what you should do. I've learned how to delegate and trust others. I've learned that it is easier for me to fix a problem than it is to be in the full sauce of it all, right?
Yes.
And
Yes. Great advice.
I put people around me that believe in the legacy of Burlington, that believe that there's something that we can give these kids that are special, that they can walk away from. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be good for the kids, because the kids will always be first, right? And the kids, and also the BT, right? The Team Burlington. Because if something happens to me and I step away, the train still has to keep running, right? And so I have an amazing coaching staff that have different responsibilities, and they've worn the uniform. We have, one or two that haven't, but for the most part, they're invested. And so the way that you balance is you put people around you that you trust, that will work, and then you let them lead. Let them be accountable. I've seen it so many times where what's the worst that can happen? You either win or you learn, right? And what's wrong with learning, right? I'm telling
Yes.
you, my career has been built on learning, right? And so I think that has been my way of just building a program so that no matter what happens, the kids still know how to become successful.
Mm. Yeah, that's beautiful, really, and such great advice.
So I'll talk about personal balance. It was so hard to have a relationship and do what I do. And they weren't always successful, but I have had some great relationships. But I guess the what I learned the most, which I guess now it's why he's my husband, is because I had to learn how to deal with his life. So it kind of like flipped on me. And, because 6 months after we met, he moved to Germany for a year.
Yeah.
So I either had to deal with it or move on without it. And neither one of us wanted to do that. And so learning that, and he's also amazing. And like the only time he ever, like, we knew each other for 2 years and he never saw a cheerleader live. And the first time he did was at her practice. And he just went and watched. And he was like, after practice, he was like, "Oh my God, you told that girl her face looked like watching paint dry." And I was like, well, I mean, they know what I meant. He was like, "I know, but it was just amazing. She didn't get upset at all. And they were all just looking at you with these big eyes." And I was like, wow, like for him to notice something like that. So we just kind of
Yeah.
like make it work and do what you have to do.
Yeah, and a good partner, a great partner that understands that this is your passion and that this is something that lights you up and fills your cup. I think it's so important that you have that support because it makes it so much easier. And even when they don't understand it, that the same Ed'll show up and do whatever
Yeah,
and
and
cheer along and
he
yes.
he loves my support system. He loves Kim. He's actually on his way here right now from Arizona. He's on the plane right now. He
Yay.
just texted me.
Uh,
So he'll be here
I'm
all
so
weekend
jealous
with
I'm not
us.
there. Yeah,
And
that's
then we're
great.
going home for Christmas together. So, right now he's in Arizona doing his PhD. So we still have to balance that life, the bicoastal relationship. But,
Yeah.
you just, if it's worth it to you, you can do anything.
Coaches get burnt out so easy, right? I hear it all the time. I actually heard it yesterday, now you bring that up. And I do think as coaches, we have to know where our quiet space is, right? If it's late at night, early in the morning, working out, and that's why I think it's important for coaches to understand that during the tough season when you're like in the gym, talking to parents, talking to the administration, figuring out how you're gonna, get the kids transported, that you do, take some time and figure out what that time is, because the kids need you, right?
Yes.
They really
Yes.
do.
And they need you at your best, so it's important
Right.
you have that self-care, that time with your loved ones or whatever that fills your cup with joy. I think that's really great too. Yeah. Great
Making good
advice,
humans is a
guys.
full-time job.
It is. It is. Yeah. There's no sleep. No sleep and no rest. Somebody always needs you. But that's leadership, right? Again, like you guys have both spoken. on the importance of leadership, and you are incredible leaders and to so many, and you're doing it. You're doing a great job and making it look easy. And I know it's not. I know how much you guys give and sacrifice and how much your families sacrifice,
Right.
but you're really making a difference, and I know that's why you do what you do. So,
Yeah, and you just kind of have to know, like, if Matt ever needed me and he said, I need you here in July, which is obviously, July is like crazy season.
yes.
I would make it work
Yes.
just because, like, he knows, don't ask me to come unless you really want me to, like,
Yep.
you just have to understand each other.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love it. And I've been married for over 30 years, and I can tell you my
Aw.
husband's like, when Hank comes, he gets so excited and mad,
Yes.
and he's just like, uh, he knows that my coaches, Lisa, Tina, Camille, Autumn, Lynn, everyone on our staff, they are my family. And they have
Yes.
been with me through the thick and thin and the good times and the tough times. And, and when any of us, anyone on the staff needs that space, because you do, then everybody else is there to help pick up, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
that is what families do, right? If they need you, don't worry about it. I got practice, or I can take care of this parent. And that's the other thing too, like whether it's a parent, administrator, like just like you teach the kids how to be good leaders, you teach your coaching staff how to deal with the issues in a respectable way, right? So that it represents the program, right? And my coaches always say, okay, we're going to do it like Kim would do it, but it
Yes.
works for me.
Yeah. What would Kim do? That's how I'm handling it. I love that. Yeah. That's really great. All right. Before we finish up, I love just putting some good juju out in the world. So I want you each to think of someone. It can be a program, it can be an individual that you just kind of want to highlight and give some love to. It could be someone that made a difference in your journey, someone you see just working really hard and you're excited for them. But yeah, just shout somebody up out before we kind of finish things up.
As far as balancing work and like what we've been talking about, I would
Yeah.
have to say a coworker of mine, well, a dear friend of mine, Sherry Cooney. I can remember being at her house in the summer, also stay with her when I work with her team, but
Yeah.
just watching her work and just treating it like, well, it's work, you have to do it. There's no point in getting down about it, and just forcing me like just to keep going. And she has a very tough love personality, and I need that a lot sometimes. And I can always say, if I have an issue I need to call her with, and I'll be like, I'm really stressed about this, she'll be like, well, why? Like, just, it's life. Like, go do it. And so just that like tough love push is a great, like, and she's kind of, I mean, there's lots of people in my life. The person across the house from me in the dining room right
Yeah.
now is like, Candy Berry from Green Up, like, who could not like think that she would be, I mean, she's like I call her my cheery godmother. I
I
danced
love
with her
that.
at my wedding. Like, so
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
I was so lucky to be a part of that program so early in life, because I saw that she took kids with nothing and gave them the world. And so it made me know that I could have what I wanted. And so I learned, that's probably two different lessons that I both needed to
No, but
learn from both those people.
yes, yes. People that are real with you and honest with you and, and pull out the very best of you. And then, yeah, people that show you what's possible and believe in
And
you.
make you believe in yourself.
And yes, and make you believe in yourself. That's really, really great. All right, Kim, who are you giving a shout out to?
Okay, here we go. So when I first started, there were folks, and I just want to give a shout out to all the all-star coaches too. I was really good friends with Pat DePalma. She used to come to my practices. She was with World Cup. And, even now with Thapia, with Fab Five and New Jersey Spirit Explosion, we have to give credit to folks who have invested in building cheerleading, right? From a business perspective. I know a lot of high school coaches get, upset because their kids go over to All-Star, but they are really doing some dynamic things. And I just want to give a shout out to them. And also Les Stella, believe it or not, way back in the day, Les Stella, I would call him because I never really understood the whole nationals thing, right? And he let Serena and I shadow him into finals with his team when he
Wow.
had Germantown, and it was amazing. Also, Salim with Dunbar, I mean, and Brandon with Bob Jones. Like, these are people who not only are great coaches, but also pay it forward, which
Yes.
for me is amazing. And then I would not be where I am if it wasn't for Serena, Diana, all my
Mm.
coaches, Lisa, Tina, Camille, Autumn and Lynn, and the others, because we fight for what's
Mm.
right for these kids.
Yes.
We never let up. We never let
Oh,
up.
They fight with each
yeah.
other.
Yeah. But you got to. You got
Positive
to.
tension. It's called
Yes.
positive tension.
I love that spin.
Right.
Positive tension.
Right. And
Yes.
I think that's a part of it's a good business practice, and it's also good for cheerleading as coaches, because sometimes we have to make decisions on kids, or we have to make decisions on whether we're going to do the stunt or not, right? But once you make that decision, you walk forward together. Right? You walk
Yes.
forward together, and and what you learn, you win or you learn,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
and and yeah, and most importantly, the biggest shout out are all my Team Burlington kids that I've ever
Yay.
coached. Yay!
Good. I know that they're going to love to hear this. And
Yeah.
I know that they are so grateful to have you leading the
Thank
way,
you.
because you have given them so much, so much over the years. And I hope you know how loved you are by
Oh,
your kids and by Hank and by so many of us in the industry who just see you and what you do and what you've built, and it's just really inspiring and motivating to everyone around you. And Hanky, I love you so much, and that
I love you
nothing
too.
makes me prouder than making you proud. I love it's
Well, you
such a
definitely
push
make me
for
proud.
me, but to have you be proud of what we've done with Northern Lights, and in this role getting to work alongside you now, it's so
I
special to
know, it's
me.
full circle.
This industry is all about people. And I think that's why we continue to
Mhm.
do what we do, is the people, because
right.
without those
For sure.
relationships and those people, it doesn't feel like work all the time. I mean, there are lows,
Right.
of course, of
Exactly.
this whole cheerleading industry, but it doesn't always feel like work when you guys are getting to hang out together, and looking forward to spend time with each other and
Right.
creating a community and a family. And that's what cheerleading really does for me as well. And it's what it's all about. So I am so grateful that you guys came on today. I am going to be cheering for Team Burlington. How do you
Ah,
feel
thank
about
you.
going into nationals this year? Are you pumped? Are we fired up? We ready
Yes,
to go?
girl, we're pumped because we are almost good to paying our bill.
All right. That's great.
But we are excited, and the kids are excited,
Good.
and the coaches and the parents as well. We had a great parent meeting last night, and we're getting ready.
I love
And
it.
it's going to be exciting for the kids as well, especially in the new
Yes.
format. But thank you so
Yes.
much for inviting me. This
Yeah.
was
No, you
really
as well.
wonderful and heartfelt.
Yeah. Thank you so much. We love what we do here, and we're so grateful to have people like you to come on and inspire the next generation of coaches, to remind somebody that we're all going through it the same, that you're not
Yeah.
alone in this sport. And the takeaways that you guys have given on today's episode, I've already learned so much, and I'm excited to bring it back to my staff. And I know that this will be a great episode. So it means so much that you took time out this close to the holidays. And I hope you guys have a great clean sweep.
Yes.
And I'm just
Thank
so
you.
grateful, like I said, for you. So, mwah.
Yeah, all you new coaches, just keep swimming.
Yes. Keep going. Keep going. Yeah. All of
Thank
us.
you.
Awesome.